Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today's Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. And why is King Charles coming to Canada? What's the point of the whole thing? It seems very, very strange. Aren't we our own country, not a British offshoot? I mean, we are a British offshoot if you want to get technical about it, but we've kind of shed that identity post-World War II, and now we were our own country, and now Mark Carney comes in and says, elbows up, everybody. Here's the king, right? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So it seems very strange, and it seems like more distraction. King Charles is a very WEF king, right? Same with Will's, right? Will, his son, Prince William. They're both WEF guys. Same with Meghan, Harry. All of those people are very, very much in the same infrastructure as Carney, as Rutte, all the UN people, the UN 2030 agenda people, the WEF people, Bill Gates, all of that stuff. King Charles goes to all those parties, right? Like, he's the same. It's the same thing. It's like having being excited about Canada because Harry and Meg are here, and it's not. It's not a thing that I'm very excited about. And not to say that I have a British mom. It's not to say that I don't like the royals necessarily. But I think that Canada made it a concerted effort to break with the British identity. And now we're having this shoved down our throat amongst everything else. Here's other countries' invasions. And don't you forget who your king is. Come on, right? Like, I don't like it so much. Starmer has completely undone Brexit. And again, I think that the WEF people are looking at all of the colonies as fertile playgrounds to do with what they want. They can test things. I mean, look at what they're doing to England, right? They're bringing in the Middle East. They're bringing in all sorts of people and destabilizing. How many major British cities have Muslim mayors, right? Look at London itself. And so when you have the power structure usurped, how can you regain it, right? You're totally screwed. And now at this point in time, Starmer's taken England and he's giving it back to the EU. So people aren't happy, but at the same time, can't do anything. So it's not great. And I think that all of those policies, all of that process, that infrastructure, all of that stuff is happening also in Canada. And again, people can't do anything. So why notice it, right? It just makes me mad. I don't want to listen to what's going on in politics because I get angry about it. Well, yep, me too. Welcome to the world, I guess. How bad is the housing crisis in Canada at this point? Very bad. And I've got numbers. People are saying these are isolated incidents and it's not everywhere, but it's pretty well everywhere, unless you want to live super rural. And at this point, I sure do. I want to have a moat. I want to have walls. I wouldn't mind a castle. We could have an entire city infrastructure. I understand feudal lords. Like, if I could have my own feudal village, I think I would. And I'd have a moat. And if you wanted to come in, I'd probably say no. I mean, not you, dear viewer. If the government wanted to come in, I'd say no. If you wanted to come in, we'd talk about it, right? We'd make sure that we're all on the same page before you came in, right? If you destroy a country, people start trying to figure out how to preserve their way of life and culture, and they will do that. And I'm just trying to figure out where to do it that will leave me alone enough, right? And I don't know that Canada's the place. What else? WHO pandemic agreement passes. This is one reason why I don't think Canada is the place to just leave you alone to run your feudal lordship, and more censorship online. And we'll start with the censorship online. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, feudal lord is just a title, like working title. We'll work on it. Ryan Garrettson says, Stephen Guilbeault, this guy's back in charge of overseeing the internet censorship bill C10. I don't know that it's not named yet, but he oversaw, I thought it was C11, but it might be C10. He oversaw the Facebook news thing, and it was a big controversy the whole time. People were saying you can't go after content creators, people who make their money and their lives on YouTube. Were saying it's a risk to my business to stay in Canada. They weren't wrong, right? And so it passed, and I said it would pass. It passed, and passive's not the right word, but I mean, look at all the censorship that happens to me, and there are a whole bunch of other people who have censorship happen, and that's all made okay by the passage of bills like this. They're going to pass another one, and the goal for this one is to get rid of people like me and to have news that's supported by government infrastructure, government money, front and center. That's the truth, and that's it. That's all you're allowed. And importantly, you're not supposed to notice. I'm supposed to go away, and you'll forget about me, and you will, right? You will. Tony, what's his name? Tony Hillier blocked me. I don't know why he blocked me. I was a big fan of his, and he blocked me. Anyway, whatever. But he used to get removed from the internet and he wouldn't be on my feed for a while and I'd forget about him. And then he would come back and I was like, oh man, I forgot about you. I like your content. And then he blocked me. And so I never see him again. What are you going to do? Right. But it's interesting. You do forget and they're going to make you forget and then just say, oh, well, that Mark guy's not coming back. Here's the CBC to tell you what's true. And you're not supposed to question it. That's threading the needle. If they get me gone, their news front and center, and only right-wing radicals questioning it, then they won. And that's pretty well on track where we're headed. That's the goal of this bill, of the next bill. That's the goal of getting this guy in there because he got the last one passed. Okay. So Gerritsen said when Carney was campaigning, he was threatening to go after X and other platforms. I, for one, don't need my government to tell me what I should or shouldn't see online. Here, Gelbo is saying. Here he's saying that we're not even going after content. We're not even going after content. Like, why are you so mad about this? And they are going after content. They did go after content. They're still going after content. They're just lying. And it doesn't matter what they say. It matters what they do. And what they do is they're going after content. Here we go.
So it's about spending obligations, spending requirements. It's not about content moderation.
So I'm going to flip the question for a moment here, Minister, because it was important enough to put that exclusion there in the first place. Now it's gone. Why was it important in the first place to put it there?
We're not interested. I mean, it's not what the bill is about.
I mean, I hear you saying you're not interested, but there literally was an exclusion that was put in the original iteration of that bill, the thing that was reviewed, and then it got to committee, and bingo, bango, bongo, the exclusion is gone. So why was it important to put it there?
No! He watches my show. Nobody says that but me. What? I didn't watch this clip beforehand. What? He's watching my show. He is definitely watching my show. Nobody says bingo, bango, bongo. That's my merch, man. What? That's hilarious. Okay. Moving on. That caught me off guard, really. Tom Quiggin says, has anyone seen or heard from the Canadian fentanyl czar? No, right? And I thought this was a weird thing as soon as they appointed the fentanyl czar that he basically took a picture in front of a Black Hawk helicopter that we were renting for photo opportunities and then disappeared, right? And then hasn't been heard from since. And I said, if I was Doug Ford, I would have appointed my own fentanyl czar, right? And had him do something to interface with the fentanyl czar. And then I would have embarrassed the shit out of the government because I would have had my fentanyl czar make weekly updates about progress they're making and the progress of the federal government, as is known to the fentanyl czar, but I would imagine that they'd interface very cleanly, right? But no, none of that happened because Doug Ford's a liberal. Oh, well. But I think that it's super interesting. Tom Quiggin continues. He says, another fake position designed to look good while doing nothing to challenge the foreign interference problem in Canada. Yeah. And I mean, that's just one aspect of the foreign interference problem, just one. And there are many. Here is Pierre Poilievre. He says, we're going to do lots of things as opposition government. And it bothers me the same way it bothers me that Rustad conceded and played along the whole deal. So if you had any doubts that the Conservative Party of Canada was controlled opposition and or part of the Uniparty or anything like that, and you're watching my show, so I mean, maybe you do. Maybe you're a big conservative believer, and I'm here to tell you, they're on board. They're doing exactly what they're being told to do, right? And I don't know how you would realistically bring up the fact that the elections are rigged, but I feel like if he's just going to play along and pretend like this is normal and everything's normal and this is our system and everything's working well, et cetera, then he's not going to make any progress because he's not going to fix the actual issue, which is our elections have been stolen, usurped, whatever, by a globalist uniparty that is pushing speech controls and all sorts of other things. And the opposition is saying, well, let's see what they're going to do. Let's see what this new prime minister is going to do. I'm sure he's not going to be as bad as that Trudeau guy. Right? Good thing we got rid of Trudeau. Are you kidding me, sir? So it's bothersome that he is doing exactly what Rustad did. But I mean, look how well that worked in British Columbia. They've got their razor thin majority and they're working it. And are they still counting? Are they still counting in BC? Are they still counting for the federal one as well? Or are seats still being flipped liberal? They're going to try and get their razor thin majority federally, and they're going to try and push through everything that they've wanted to push through, et cetera. They're worried about, because they don't want to bring a budget forward because the budget is a confidence vote and they don't have a confidence in supply agreement with anybody yet. And I guess the NDP haven't crossed the floor yet to give them their majority. So they're worried about an early like the government falling on the budget if it doesn't pass the confidence vote, and so they don't want to table a budget. And so like that's an easy way to get out of that. But what's Pierre going to do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing, because he's uniparty. So anyway, here's Pierre Poilievre in a post-election, oh shucks, we lost, but don't worry, we're going to keep fighting for you guys the way we have been, which is to say they haven't done anything. Like, what have they done? One thing that Poilievre did is prevent the censorship laws from being passed because he filibustered from September to whenever we had the election, basically. And he was successful in that. So that was one thing that he was successful in. So I got to give him credit for that. But the rest, yeah, very ineffective, very ineffective. So what's the plan? Because at this point, it looks like 4 more years of Carney and then, I don't know, but I'll win the next election. Promise. And I don't buy it. Here we go.
It was Lincoln who said, I stand with a man when he stands right, and I stand against him when he stands wrong. So let's see what the government does. The previous government, to be frank, was a disaster. And so we had every reason to oppose basically everything they did. But here we are, a few weeks after the election, where 8 million people vested their hopes in me to deliver for them. And the best way I can do that is put forward good ideas that will make their housing affordable and their food affordable, let their streets be safe, give them a chance at growing paychecks. So when we put forward good ideas and the government accepts them, then we're going to be celebrating. Where the government acts against the interests of the country, then we will fight tooth and nail to stop them. So we will fight for the 8 million people who voted for us. And we will work with anyone that will deliver gains for those people, because we're in it for them and for all Canadians.
I just wanted you to hear the music, the bah, 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 right? It sounds very end of Star Wars, like the bad guys here, right? And the hero and the villain fight. It sounds almost like a video game, right? The background music matters. They're trying to set a tone, and it's weak. I think it's weak. I think it's absolutely weak that he says, oh, let's see what this Carney guy delivers. The last government was terrible, but this new government, wink, will be great. Seriously? I'm supposed to buy this? Just because he's saying it, right? And a lot of people do like him. He's saying it, so people will eat it up. Not me. Sorry. Not me. I don't buy it. Not for a second. It's ridiculous. Here is Concerned Canadian. He says, why is he coming? Why is King Charles going to be here? Who sees any merit? This is CBC reporting why King Charles' upcoming visit to Canada is unprecedented in many ways. Yeah, nobody wants to see him or Kamala, right? Anyway, he says, Camilla? Is it Camilla? It's not Kamala. It's Camilla. That's the queen. But she wasn't supposed to be the queen because he was having an affair with her that was salaciously dragged out in the tabloids. And right, this was before they killed Diana. The paparazzi killed Diana. Wink. And after that Diana thing was out of the way, Charles married Camilla with the promise to Queen Elizabeth that she wouldn't be queen, she'd be queen consort or something like that. Now she's the queen. So I think she's the queen. Do they just call her the queen, but she is queen consort? Like, does she have a different title, but they just call her the queen for short, right? Like, you have a long name for a pet, but you only call it like Bruce or whatever. I don't know what the long name would be. Why is he here? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Does Carney believe that it will show the USA the benefits of solidarity with the British Empire? It's ridiculous. Doesn't he know that the UK already struck a deal with the USA? Yeah, all of it. I think this is more virtue signaling alignment with the WEF agenda. King Charles, as I said, is a huge WEF asset, and he's talked about climate change. He's talked about the importance of all of the nonsense that he doesn't adhere to because he's a super rich king, right, of England, for crying out loud. German king of England, right? They changed the name because the last name to I think it's Windsor, right? They changed the name to Windsor because previously it was far too German, and I can't remember what it was. It starts with a B or something like that. Let me know in the comments. It's definitely a very easy thing to find, but they had a different last name that was too German, and then they changed it because too German. And so I think it's all funny. The history of everything, nobody really pays attention to. Very, very funny. Carla says, it's ludicrous. We're doing our grab bag of governance, so there's lots of different bits of budgetary news today, and she says it's ludicrous that the financial savior, Mark Carney, can't put together a budget. Even legacy media can't hide what a catastrophe the first few weeks already are under another Liberal term. So like the CBC is saying, these people are idiots. And Poilievre saying, let's see what he does. Are you kidding me? Come on, right? Like, it's ridiculous. Here's the CBC. Oh, no, it's CTV, not CBC. This woman here is upset with Mark Carney and lack of budget. Is this Jagmeet Singh's brother? Here we go.
Do you think that this is just some of the growing pains of a new government?
These aren't new people.
These aren't neophytes. These aren't people who don't know how to bridge out of a question into something they want to talk about. For so many years, the Liberal government has said one thing to one group of people and another thing to another group of people. I think it was glaring today, but I don't think for a hot minute that PMO didn't know exactly what Steve Guilbeault would say should he be asked that question anywhere he is. So anytime he's around national press, they're going to ask him. PMO knows what he's going to say, and frankly, I think they're okay with it. They like this idea where you say one thing to one group of people, another thing to another. But I have to mention the most glaring thing that happened this week is that we learned that there is no federal budget. And for a government that ran on, themes of stability, predictability, reliability, I'm Mark Carney, financial savior for all. To say that he's not going to put forward a budget is ludicrous. I cannot believe he doesn't understand the value of sharing what your fiscal plan is going to be and the value of having the voice of the people vote on it, right? Like if you just won this big election, put it down on paper, pass it through the House. The idea that we're going to rise in June so we can't sit, let me think of who could extend that sitting calendar. Oh, it's the Liberal Party. It's Mark Carney. He can make them sit. He's not bound by any sort of law that says that they have to rise. He's making this very deliberate decision. I think it's bad for Canadian business, bad for democracy, and bad for Canada.
Yeah. And the WEF-backed gang will continue doing everything that they're doing and more and worse unless they're stopped. And it doesn't seem like anybody's really stopping them, unfortunately. The food professor says some economists at Canadian banks are finally acknowledging that scrapping the consumer carbon tax will lower inflation. About time we got some honesty. Remember the open letter signed by over 400 economists, many of them academics on Environment Canada's payroll. They all claimed that the carbon tax had no impact on inflation. Interesting how that narrative is shifting now. Yeah, I mean, it is very interesting. People are realizing reality exists and, what things that I write down on paper after being paid by the Liberal Party don't manifest and become true. Strange, right? It's very interesting. And the other thing that I've heard is that gas prices are set to steadily rise all summer because of Carney's implementation of the industrial carbon tax, I guess. But again, I haven't seen any evidence of that. This is just, they're saying that because everything is supposed to rise anyway, and they want to give us a reason why. And I don't know that it's actually true. When I find information about what's happening with the industrial carbon tax and so on and so forth, it may actually already be implemented. I thought there was the consumer carbon tax and the industrial carbon tax, and they reduced the consumer carbon tax to zero, but the industrial carbon tax stayed on the books. And I think there was an increase schedule as well to increase it. It increased April 1st, and that's what we're seeing. The knock-ping run-on of that increasing gas prices. That could be it, but I don't have the information on paper to show you that. That's my speculation, but I'm not sure. So when I know, I'll let you know. But I think that it's interesting that on one hand, we're being sold one version of reality. Like Carney says, we're getting rid of that, that consumer carbon tax, but we'll pay it anyway through the industrial carbon tax going up to offset the removal of the consumer carbon tax, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And our steel industry and other industries that will be impacted by this will be not competitive with the rest of the world because of our government's actions, right? And so it's not good. And Carney's not the smartest guy in the room. And just because people publicly agree with it by signing letters and stuff, why does that influence anybody? Like, I look at this and I think to myself, well, they've been paid off. I don't think to myself, those experts know what they're talking about. I lived through 2020. Are you kidding me? Right? So like these experts are lying liars who are being paid off by the government. That's the first thing I think. So these people, honestly, all of them, we need to flush them because they don't represent us. Dr. Moffat says, here's a cheat sheet for those who claim that Canada's housing crisis is isolated to a few pockets of the country. There are substantial regional variations, but the pockets of unaffordability are very, very large. Raw data is here, and he says, so this is just a small chart. It says single family price income ratio above 4.5%, 4.5. That's very bad, apparently. 3.5 to 4.5 is borderline, and under 3.5 is good. So all of British Columbia is in the 4.5 very bad category, urban and rural. All of southern and eastern Ontario, urban and rural. Montreal, Calgary, Halifax, they're all in the very bad area. So that's Quebec, Alberta, Nova Scotia, British Columbia, Ontario. That's a lot of places that are not affordable, right? In the borderline, all of Atlantic Canada, all of Atlantic Canada, urban and rural outside of Halifax, Quebec City and area, Edmonton and area, Saskatoon and area, Winnipeg and area, North Bay and area. And the good places that are under 3.5 are Northern Ontario, most of Quebec outside of Quebec City and Montreal, and Regina. That's it. So that's not good, right? Like if you want to go live in Regina, then you've got lots of options. Okay, so yay. That's it. Or Northern Ontario. With Starlink, I could set up my feudal kingdom. It'd be great. Welcome to Shea Mark. No. But it'd be fun though. Food professor says new agricultural minister wants to seize momentum and launch Canadian food into new markets. These, again, we're being misled by tinkering on the corners of policy when the real block to innovation and exporting and all the rest are things like supply management, wheat boards, dairy boards. These things are like they're replicated in each province, and oversight and quotas and money. And the money is incentive to keep it the way it is. Because if it changes, if those things are brought down, then you don't have your power, you don't have your money. What happened last year and the year before and the year before that and 10 years before that can't happen anymore. And so you want to protect that, right? And so there are lots of people in that boat, and they've got lots of money because the government's been giving them lots of money. So great that he wants to seize the momentum and launch Canadian food into new markets, just not dairy, right? Just not beef, right? Because we're not even allowed to increase the herds. The herds are at the lowest they've been since the 1950s. And in the 1950s, the population was much lower. So they're trying to increase the price of beef through increasing the price of everything else and maintaining the beef. You have to, in order for the beef to be viable, you have to raise that animal for a period of months, 9 months, 12 months. I don't know how long it is. I think it's less than a year. But you have to feed it. You have to water it. There's a cost to all of that. And if those costs go up, then the price to rear that animal goes up, and the cost of the beef, the cost of the meat goes up. And so that's all trickles down to you, right? And so anyway, I feel like this is meant to manipulate, meant to mislead you into believing that this is a problem that's going to be solved in the short term, and it just isn't, right? And they're not interested in really solving it. I think that their solution to the housing affordability problem, is going to be MAID. They're going to be like, listen, if you are sick and tired of living in your parents' basement, this is a new mental health disorder, and we can MAID you for that. And so I hope I'm wrong about that. I'm trying to be mildly funny, but I feel like it's too plausible to be funny. Jasmine says, spotted in Manitoba. You have to be a special kind of demonic to advocate for MAID for young, vulnerable people and people who are suicidal. So here's MAID for children and teens, and somebody helpfully highlighted the concerning part. I mean, the concerning part is all of it, but here's what the Canadian government is putting out in Manitoba, I believe. MAID for children and teens. A special committee of MPs and senators studying MAID has recommended allowing MAID for mature minors. A mature minor is a child or a teen who's deemed capable of making a decision for MAID. This would essentially remove the minimum age of eligibility. How do you have a child go into a room with a doctor, and the doctor says, do you want to kill yourself? And the child says, yes, I do. And the doctor says, you are a mature minor and you can make this decision. Let me get that injection. Dink, dink, dead. And then comes out and says, well, your kid was a mature minor and we've killed him already. Have a good day. How do you deal with that? Right? Like that's insane. Remove the minimum age of eligibility. Who would go to a doctor at that point? You wouldn't go to a doctor. I'm just going to talk to Timmy for 5 minutes for a second. Head out into the hallway, parent. The answer is hell no. Whatever you have to say to Timmy, you can say to him in front of me. And sometimes if the doctor gets upset, that's when you leave. You say, screw you, doctor. I'll get a new doctor. Bye. The committee also suggests parents may not be consulted and wouldn't need to consent to their child's death via MAID. So, yay, right? This is progress, people. This is, as far as I can tell, this is real, right? So crazy stuff, absolutely crazy stuff. 1 in 10 people will wait more than 4 months for counseling. The waiting period for MAID is only 3 months. Oh, okay. So if you need counseling or anything like that, just let us kill you. And I mean, that wait list is way shorter than the other one. David Dixon says, was BC Ostrich Farm working with the WEF and Japanese biopharma on growing COVID masks. This is a thread sent to me this morning by somebody who's looking at the ostriches and looking what their eggs are being used for and the antibodies and things like that. And there's a whole bunch of different articles talking about the history of these ostriches. Some of them are archived, some of them are Reuters, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll just go through it. Link is in the description if you're interested. I think it's interesting enough. The behavior of the Canadian government doesn't make rational sense. If the birds had bird flu at Christmas time, 5 months ago, or January, 4 months ago, whatever it is, then would they not be better now? And they're saying it's for your safety. We don't want bird flu to spread, so we have to kill these ostriches, but they're not sick. And so there's something else going on here. What else is going on here? Here's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on here. Dr. Taskemoto was involved in H1N1 swine flu in 2009, 2016 MERS schemes, and recently avian flu experiments. How did these ostriches get avian flu in the first place? Japan researchers use ostrich cells to make glowing COVID-19 detection masks. The science started by creating a mask filter coated with ostrich antibodies targeting the novel coronavirus. I don't know how they do any of that, but okay. What is going on with the ostriches in BC? If a patient infected with SARS-CoV-2 is present, a doctor will spray the antibody solution into the nasal cavity of the hospitalized patient. Close contacts and healthcare professionals. This is Biospace. Ostrich Pharma USA produces antibodies to block the virus that causes COVID-19. Okay, so this is news articles talking about these ostriches. I don't know if these ostriches, but ostriches in general. Working with a lab back east, we inoculated our hens with the dead COVID-19 virus. Isolated? Says Epperson. Last year, we were able to block 99.9% of coronavirus if it was infused in a face mask. Again, I don't believe that. It sounds like a sales pitch. What is going on with the ostriches? Ostrigen is currently working with partners to develop countermeasures to viral diseases, influenza, Zika, Ebola, and MERS using ostrich stuff. Manufacturing antibodies to counter the similar H1N1 swine flu as soon as he can get a sample of the latest virus to panic the world. We've been getting a lot of inquiries about swine flu. If they're part of if they're part of a biopharma experiments being injected with viruses, how are they part of the food chain and cosmetic industry? So this is a good point that is kind of lost as well. If these ostriches are being used for research and they're injecting antibodies and things like that, like the monkey in Outbreak, right? Then are they in the food chain? Like, are people eating those ostrich eggs? Are people going to this ostrich farm and buying things and taking them home? Because that would be weird, right? Like that wouldn't make sense. And if they're not doing that, then why is the agricultural industry worried about these these ostriches if they're not in the food chain at all? So it all doesn't make sense. There's weird things going on. They're using ostriches for all sorts of stuff. And I think there's more than meets the eye here. I'm very, very skeptical is not quite the right word, but I'm very, very concerned that we're not being told everything about this. This is an interesting one. And, they changed it. It was 66. I just thought not exactly whenever I see the number 66, my attention is piqued. I think to myself, is it really that? Or is that, a headline for a reason? And so the WHO, we'll do this and then I'll kill the stream. Juno News is reporting an accountant fired by WestJet for refusing to get the COVID-19 vaccine has been awarded nearly $66,000 in damages by a Calgary judge. So that's good news. I think that's good news. But these numbers keep popping up all the time, right? And in this, it says $65,000 in back pay, and they say nearly $66,000. So maybe it's not, but it's one of those things that keeps popping up, and I keep thinking to myself, what's going on with that? But people are getting compensated for employers who fired them over the vaccine mandates. But we're mid 2025, right? And it doesn't seem to be getting better. There's a whole bunch of people who are pushing this as the only way to save us. And here's Disclosed TV saying the WHO Assembly adopts the pandemic agreement. I will not comply. I don't care who says it. I don't care if Mark Carney says it. I don't care if Doug Ford says it. I don't care if whoever the UN WHO person says it. I don't give a shit. I will not comply. And you can't make me, WHO. It's not going to happen. F you. No. Big fat no. I'm not going to wear your mask. I'm not going to stay at home in a lockdown. and you're wrong, and you're wrong to do this, and we will stop you because we will not comply with this shit. That's it. There's mass non-compliance is the only way to, you look at this and you go, okay, and you respond as if I told you to go to your room. Go to your room. I have no authority over you. You can't go. I can't make you go to your room. I'm in my garage, right? Like, there's no way to do this. Go to your room. I can get really mad about it, and it's not going to change anything. Same. And when they come here and try and arrest me, et cetera, it's going to fail. And when everybody stands there and says, you effing idiots don't have the authority or anything else to do this to us, they will fail. But we have to stand up and we have to say no. Here is Molly, and she says, incidentally, it's interesting that the WHO thought it fit to include an entire paragraph in their presser on national sovereignty. Regardless of these words, though, the cumulative impact of the treaty plus IHRs remains an assault on national public health autonomy and ties the United Kingdom to an interventionalist and surveillance-heavy pandemic management plan for years to come. That the whole approach is underwritten by Big Pharma, courtesy of the WHO's broken funding structure, renders it especially rotten. Yep. I will not comply. It's not going to happen. Here is what they're trying to do is take everything from you, everything that you like, everything that brings comfort, everything that potentially is a shelter in a terrible storm. They want to take it from you. Your pet cat? Yeah, that too.
Now experts are sounding the alarm that it could be circulating in cats. A systematic review shows both indoor and outdoor cats are getting infected with H5N1. The data includes cases from a 20-year period up to 2024. More than 600 cases across 18 countries were documented in the report, and more than 300 fatalities.
Look at that terrifying cat. Oh my gosh, 300 fatalities. Roar, the cat is going to get you. It's going to bite your face off. Roar, terrifying cat. Honestly, you're a cat. And they attribute all these deaths, 600 cases, 300 deaths. Absolute nonsense. It is nothing but lies. Nothing at all but lies. And they will lie to you, and they will lie to you, and they will do anything they can to make sure that you believe the lie. And if somebody tells you the truth, they'll say that's misinformation. And they know what they're telling you is wrong. It's crazy. It's a crazy, crazy world. We've got to talk about Alberta. I'll say again that if Alberta wants this, you have to get a group of citizens who are in charge of it. You have to have the vote overseen by that group of citizens, certified by a third party that is acceptable to all of the citizens of Alberta, and I mean, that would be acceptable to all, like a third party legal office that has no connection to the people running it, et cetera, to certify that this is real, these people are real, and so on and so forth. And you walk that package in and you say, Danielle Smith, you're done, get out, because we are now the government, and we will negotiate our separation with Donald Trump and the government of Canada. Get out. That's the only way it's going to work. If you do anything else, it'll fail. It'll fail. I promise you. And I'm sorry, but it'll fail. And I don't want it to fail, but it'll fail. They're threatening removal of your Canadian pension plan. They're threatening removal of your citizenship from Canada. People have dual citizenship. You could have dual citizenship of Alberta and Canada. You could have dual citizenship of the United States and Canada. You can have all sorts of you could have tri-citizenship of United States, Alberta, and Canada, but they're saying, no, elbows up. You can't have that. If you leave Canada, we'll strip you of your citizenship and all of your CPP that you've paid in and everything else. No, that's bullshit. They can't do that. So it'll be negotiated, and anybody with sense will negotiate viciously and will do their best to get what they can and then cut ties. I think that CPP, Alberta's paid into CPP, all that money's gone. They've already spent it. It's been sent to Ukraine. So take what you can, cut your losses, and just get out, okay? And I don't mean that. I mean that lovingly. Alberta. We'll do this really quick and then we'll cut the stream. Derek says, Trudeau's creepy senator appointed to represent Alberta thinks the feds can cancel the pensions owned by individual taxpayers. Not legal, not true. CPP is a Ponzi scheme, but it's not entitlement to residents of Canada. It's an account owned by individual contributors. And there are a lot of people who collect their CPP when they're out of country. This is nothing new. And what's her name? Sheila Copps lives in Mexico and she collects her pension, even government pension that she got from being in government. So again, I think that it's overblown that they're saying, Dr. Wells says, I can assure you, no Canadian passport, no citizenship, no pension, and no future if you want to leave Canada. All right, Dr. Wells, I don't believe you. But they're trying to make this case, and they're trying to make it very, very strongly. Here's another thing. Blonde Bigot says, look at the mess my city's in. The Najar Curtain in Edmonton 2025. And Jason says we're straight up getting replaced. So yeah, this is what's going on in Alberta. I don't know how to solve this problem in Alberta. First step, get independence. Second step, solve the invasion. And you could just send them to Canada. Oh, darn, I'm in Canada. No. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody, on the stream. We'll catch you tomorrow. And for everybody else, we'll finish off. We've got... Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful